Hello, everybody. Welcome to the NSAA High School Baseball COVID-19 Guidelines presentation for coaches. This is Dan Masters. All right, so hey, missed the luncheon meeting the other day. I'll take you through what we covered during that meeting. First of all, I'm on the baseball page here, shown on your screen. The COVID-19 guidelines can be found under General Info, 2021 Spring Baseball Guidelines. So that's where we'll spend our time today. All right, so what I covered here, page 1, is simply an all-encompassing 30,000-foot view of the NSAA spring season guidelines. So this cover page, if you will, is something we had in place last fall, all winter, and now this spring. This covers all spring sports. And I'm going to concentrate here probably on these bullet points, middle of the page. So beginning with the first 5 bullets, things that are covered include active participants are allowed to wear masks, not required. Spectators need to have face coverings on to enter all activities. They may be removed if you're outside, and 6 feet of physical distance can be maintained. Face covering should cover the nose and mouth. Schools should follow the DHMs, local DHMs for spectator attendance. So therefore, just a reminder, you can be more restrictive if you'd like, and maybe you only have parents allowed at your baseball games this year. You could also just follow what the local or state DHM is as well. And then finally, with that same kind of angle to it, the host school can establish additional requirements, things that they want to be held true and in place with their home events, as long as it's fair and equal to all schools, officials, judges, and spectators. We also have some recommendations on this page. We encourage coaches and non-active participants to have face coverings on at all times when they're not actively participating. So I'm thinking of like the dugout. Again, recommendation, not a mandate. Your school can decide which stance they'll take. Maybe have separate entries for home and away visitors. Make sure you have things in place for concession stands, whether it's yes or no on concession stands, and then safety protocols in place. Think through your restroom situation, signage and physical distancing in concession stands, restrooms. Think through locker room or changing area for officials, keeping those things clean. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And then also the whole sanitizing thing. Cleaning frequently touched objects, surfaces, that's important as well. So again, this is from a 30,000-foot view. This is all encompassing all spring activities. Then we scroll to page 2, and this is specifically related to baseball. The first part I want to talk about are these NSAA-approved rulings regarding schedules. These 3 things are on the softball and all fall activities as well as winter activities when we're talking wild card. So let me explain a few things. Number 1, the deadline for schools to submit their baseball schedule is now Thursday, March 18th. That's the first day of competition. After March 18th, schools cannot add or subtract games from their schedule. They get locked in. It's important to note, maybe you have a team that notifies you on March 17th that due to COVID, they can't play that first week. They're quarantining for X amount of days. You can't land on a common date later on for a makeup date. Therefore, if it's pre-March 18, you could still go out and fill that hole in that schedule. So just, again, an FYI on the extension of the deadline. Secondly, regular season games that are canceled due to COVID will be considered a no contest. A, wildcard points will not be awarded for these games, and B, forfeits will not be issued. So let's go through an example. Pius is going to host East baseball. First week of the year, East gets COVID. They have to quarantine. And the first step you should take is similar to a weather-related incident, a postponement. Try to reschedule the contest. Okay? And early in the year, that's predominantly what will happen. But as we get later in the season, we get fewer and fewer makeup dates available. The no contest portion of this becomes more of a reality for schools. And if there's no contest, schools can't get a makeup date in place for this last game due to COVID. There will be no wildcard points awarded because there's no forfeit. There's no winner or loser. It's just a no contest. Okay? Read number 3, though. Replacement games not originally on the schedule, so there are games not on there after March 18th on that schedule, they can be scheduled at any time. So again, let's go back to the example. Pius and East lose the game because of COVID. East can't play. So Pius, let's say, wants to go out and get a replacement game. They can go to another school and get a replacement game, but number 1, know that it's not going to have wild card ramifications. 2, you cannot exceed your contest limitations. So Pius couldn't go out and add a tournament per se if they've already met their max of tournaments. They could add a game for this last game versus East. But also a reminder, too, they're going to have to find a game against a team that also lost a game due to COVID. And you'll be able to access that info on the weekly scores. I'll update that as needed. As soon as I know there's a game lost to COVID, I will annotate that on the weekly scores. So again, some updates regarding schedules. Let's go to the rules modifications. First of all, the process to get here. We had a committee of coaches, a committee of umpires that worked on and through a list that was given to us from the NFHS. A lot of these were developed and used during the fall high school softball season or last summer by some of our other states. Some of them you may be utilized during the Legion summer season last year. So anyway, these are the rules mods for this year. Number 1, face coverings. Make sure they are not white. Make sure they're not distracting. They can have designs if it is a school mascot or logo. Offensive helmets do not need to match this year, so your Legion baseball helmet can be in play during the spring high school season. Make sure pregame conferences, umpires are going to limit it to just one coach per team. We're going to stay outside the batter's boxes. We're still going to hand lineups to the umpire, verbally talk through those Q&As. But when it comes to giving the lineup upstairs, let's try to do it electronically if possible. Pitch counts are still going to be exchanged verbally after each game at each level of play. Make sure when we're subbing and coaching, we're maintaining physical distance. Bench and field conduct. Players are not permitted to leave the dugout area to congratulate players when scoring or after home runs. Coaches, you need to keep your kids in the dugout. Okay, the umpires shouldn't have to do that. You're the first line of defense on that. Conferences, again, one coach attending. Everybody's maintaining physical social distance. And then make sure you and your AD talk through your press box situation. Only have essential personnel up in that press box during games. General considerations. First of all encompassing. Again, have some sanitizer wipes available at the field. Disinfecting, have a plan in place there. Maybe think through staggering seating of fans. Let's talk about the last bullet there on this top page. The home team should provide the game balls. And this is where the committee landed. That way the umpires, they're taken out of the mix. They don't have to handle any foul balls, game balls, etc. We're going to have and ask the home teams provide the game balls, have a clean bucket and a dirty bucket in the dugout with a wet, soapy rag that can clean up any game balls as needed. And then let's go through the foul ball. If there's a foul ball hit out of play, a clean ball should come from the dugout. That's that home team game ball that's being provided directly to the pitcher. And that foul ball can be returned to the dugout and properly sanitized. Considerations for coaches: consider wearing a mask. We're not going to do handshakes. A wave after the game is suitable. Make sure you're trying to maintain 6 feet distance between players and umpires. No seeds, gum, or spitting. And also, coaches, you're responsible for ensuring physical distance between players as much as possible. That's a recommendation. I know some of you are going to have different scenarios based off your situation with your venue and the dugout itself. I will add that if you need to extend your dugout, make sure you're doing that in the non-live ball area. Considerations for players: no seeds, gum, or spitting. Sanitize stuff after games. Try to physically distance. Don't share equipment, water bottles, etc. We're not going to do the handshakes. Considerations for umps. We've already talked about all of them that are going to apply to coaches and teams. So I don't think I really need to touch base on anything from that regard. Again, these are the considerations and rules modifications due to COVID for the spring 21 baseball season. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions.